Mrs. McFlurry was an odd one. Have you ever had this one substitute teacher that was either really strict or really lax? Well, Miss McFlurry simultaneously sits on that line and is reporting that line to the police for sexual harassment. You might be wondering, where did the name of Mrs. McFlurry come from? It all starts in PE class, as some of you might know it as gym. Our gym teacher was gone, so the school had called in a sub. Normally, the gym in our school isn't really chaotic, and any half-decent teacher can handle it. Except for that one PE teacher who got caught watching porn, supposedly, but that's another story for another time. And when we get a sub in PE, we usually just play tag or some other game in the gym, and that's a perfectly normal way to pass 85 minutes. But this time, it was something else. We got Miss McFlurry as a sub. Miss McFlurry's real name isn't actually Miss McFlurry, as some of you might have guessed. When she got into her school, she swaggered to the gym. That's actually how she walks, and I'm not making that up. Then she told everyone to shut up and take attendance. After taking attendance, she opened up a clipboard that our PE teacher left for her to read, and then she slowly read to us the rules of tag. Then she walked away, sat on the bleachers, and read a book. Nothing special here. It was only the middle of class when we noticed that our teacher wasn't really here. And here's when the name was born. One of my friends, who I'll call Down Bad, said, "Wait, our teacher is gone." After looking at the bleachers, all traces of our sub was gone, which then I made the comment, "She looks like she left to get a McFlurry." "And a 6-piece of chicken nugget," someone shouted out. And another person tried to say, "Wait, where did Mrs. What's her name again?" Nobody remembered what her name was, so we just called her Mrs. McFlurry, and from there, a new name was born. After a while, Mrs. McFlurry comes back with a different book, and a thermos in her hand, probably filled with a McFlurry. All while this was happening, the tag game continued on. Someone tagged a girl, who we will call Girl A, and that girl tagged someone a little too hard. We will call this girl Girl B. Girl B got tagged and screamed. And then Miss McFlurry swaggered over to that girl and asked her who tagged her. Girl B pointed at Girl A and said, "Her." Then Miss McFlurry swaggered over to Girl A and then pinched her ear while screaming, "Don't do it again!" Girl A cried and then ran to the principal's office. A PA came over the speakers to call Mrs. McFlurry to the office, and she slowly swaggered over to her cup and brought it to the office. After a while, Girl A came back, and Mrs. McFlurry didn't. A few minutes later, the principal came and brought out the basketballs, and told us to do whatever for the last few minutes of class. We thought that this was the end of Miss McFlurry, but there's a reason why it's the legend of Miss McFlurry. 2 semesters later, she came back. This time, it was in a different class. Our teacher had an emergency, and so they called in a sub. Apparently, our school district was lacking substitute teachers, so they had to call in people who weren't exactly the best. The moment she came in, I was the only one who was shocked. Nobody else knew the legend of Miss McFlurry. This time, she told everyone to shut up and started with class. This class was right after finals, so our teacher planned something easy. We played board games for class, so that we could design them. While we were playing board games, we popped out some playing cards that were in this cardstock, and a friend and I noticed that they kind of looked like brass knuckles, so we punched the table with them as a joke. Miss McFlurry heard this and swaggered over to our table. She said, "Nuh-uh, give me those," while shaking her finger. Then she gave us a 20-minute lecture on fighting and gangs or something. Then she walked away and didn't take them away. Then she returned to sitting on the chair and doing nothing. And 2 boys did a fist bump because they won the game. And of course, Mrs. McFlurry swaggered over to them and said, "Nuh-uh, you boys shouldn't be doing gang signs in school. You belong at the police station." I overheard that randomly, and I had a hard time getting it until one of the boys told me the context, which was a fist bump. After that, class ended, and the worst part was that I stayed in the same classroom for homeroom, so I had to be in another class with Mrs. McFlurry. A few minutes later, one of my friends came in for homeroom and put his backpack down, then walked over to talk to me. Then he threw the paper airplane in his hand into his backpack so he wouldn't lose it. Mrs. McFlurry saw that and swaggered over to my friend's backpack and fished the plane out, then stood right in front of him and ripped it up, all with the expression that she smelled something stinky on her face. Then she said, "Nuh-uh, you know better," and then yelled at him and me to sit down. The worst part is, in her sub-notes, she said that my friend was throwing paper airplanes all over the classroom and throwing it at people, even though we had multiple witnesses. Before the period ended, she promptly disappeared and never came back, probably to get a McFlurry. That is the end of the legend of Miss McFlurry. I hope you enjoyed it, but I'm pretty sure I didn't when Miss McFlurry was teaching. Thank you for watching, and remember to like and subscribe.